We have a story about essentially a mother who did some taken stuff, got revenge, justice for her daughter. It is a sad instance. This happened a few years ago. It's a sad instance, of course, and the mother ended up losing her life at the end of it. But she was a brave and courageous woman. So we got a story here, and let's get into it. The Mexican drug cartel kidnapped my daughter, and I dared to fight back. On March 27, 2016, Mariam Rodriguez was hiding and holding a loaded .38 pistol near the Matamoros International Bridge, which links Matamoros, Mexico, and Brownsfield, Texas. Wearing a baseball cap and trench coat, the 56-year-old mother of three was waiting for a member of the feared Zeta drug cartel, the Flores. 2 years prior, he had been one of 11 men involved in the kidnapping of her then 20-year-old daughter, Karen. Now, Mariam was out for justice and revenge. Spotting the Flores near some street vendors, Mariam pulled her gun and seized the moment. She grabbed his shirt and jammed the pistol into his back. This is what she said. "If you move, I'll effing shoot you," she said, going on to hold him at gunpoint and perform a citizen's arrest until police arrived. Now, you may be thinking like me, like, wow, this lady, she has some cojones. Like, she ain't afraid. She's just going, we're going to get into it. Okay. This was a very interesting story. And obviously this is true. Like, this ain't just like some made up stuff. Like, this is actual stuff that happened. Mariam first learned of her daughter's kidnapping when she was living and working as a housekeeper for a pair of doctors in McAllen, Texas, after she split up with her husband, Luis, and moved north. Her daughter, Karen, remained behind and ran the family's cowboy store, Rodeo Boots, in San Fernando. The former cattle ranching town had become infamous in 2010 when the Zetas, having split from the Gulf Cartel Crime Syndicate, killed 72 migrants in the so-called San Fernando Massacre. In 2011, they kidnapped and butchered 192 people at La Jolla Ranch in the town. Wow. On January 24th, 2014, they struck the Rodriguez family. At 4 a.m. that morning, January 2014, Mariam got a call from her eldest daughter, Azalea, telling her that Karen had been taken. The kidnappers had called Karen's father, demanding a ransom of 1 million pesos, which is around 77,000 USD, payable by 3 p.m. the following day for her safe return. So at 4 a.m., that's when the mom finds out from the dad and the sister that, she's been taken. Karen has been taken. So now it's like, okay, we got until 3 p.m. tomorrow, or they're going to go and kill our sister, kill your daughter. All right. So now it's like, okay, they want this 77,000 or, $1 million, 1 million pesos. We got to do it or the daughter's going to die. Then they put his daughter on the line. Okay. So this is Karen that's on the line. As Ahmed writes, "If you pay them, they will let me go," Karen said. "If not, then I guess this is goodbye." Soon after, the kidnappers called Mariam in Texas, outlining their demands again. Mariam dropped everything, left a note for her employers, and returned immediately to San Fernando. The next morning, meanwhile, Luis headed to the bank and emptied their savings account and arranged for a loan for the remainder of the ransom. So obviously they don't have 1 million pesos in their account. They got only a certain amount, and then they had to get a loan for the rest. But when they dropped the money off as arranged, and they dropped it off for the cartel members who are holding the daughter hostage for ransom, when they dropped the money off as arranged, there was no sign of Karen, their daughter. As the hours passed and darkness fell over San Fernando, an unspoken fear began to seize each of them. writes Ahmed, what if Karen simply was not coming back? The fact that Mariam and Louise had paid the ransom with such speed led the kidnappers to reconsider. So you want 3 million pesos. I work out a deal, get my money from the savings account, and get a loan to give you the money that you asked for, that you demanded, so I could then get my daughter. That's what you said the deal was. I give it to you before 3 o'clock the next day. You then say, yeah, but the fact that y'all gave us the money in full and you did it quick, oh, that sounds like y'all are loaded with cash, so we're going to keep her. What? If you pay too quickly, sometimes the kidnappers might try to renegotiate the deal, figuring they had left money on the table. Yo, this was all money that you weren't going to have anyways. You kidnapped someone's kid. This is all money you didn't have anyways. Just take the money and give the kid back. But the family had taken a loan and emptied their savings and had nothing left to give. Sure enough, in the days that followed, the kidnappers called Mariam, demanding, of course, more money. She even met with men purporting to the group's leaders who said they could give Karen back if she just gave them some more, quote unquote, pocket change payments of $1,600 and $400, which meant that the money would not have stopped. The money would have kept coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. You know, and it says Mariam paid up. Again, Karen did not return. So she gave, okay, okay, that was in my saving. Okay, this is my check-in here. It's, equivalent of 1,600 USD and 1,400 USD here. Yeah, I think we may need some more. Well, where's my daughter? I think we're going to need some more. On the 1-month anniversary of Karen's disappearance, Mariam resigned herself to never seeing her daughter again. So she's like, they killed her. I already know they killed her. Otherwise, you would just give me my daughter. Not least because there are over 70,000 people registered missing in Mexico, and the police simply were not interested in helping. Now, I was reading, it was another article, I think it was from 2022 or maybe 2023, and it was saying the number is more like 73,000 now. It's upsetting. There was no self-pity in her voice. No tears or currents of pain spread across her face. She stood for a moment, choosing her words. For the rest of my life, with the time I have, I'm going to find the people who did this to my daughter, Mariam vowed, and I'm going to make them pay. Her Luis, the husband, said that this is what she was saying. Mariam had a history of fighting crime. And this was, y'all, because when I first heard of this story, I was like, man, this woman, she's going to give Liam Neeson a run for his money. I was like, wow, this is insane. I was like, she's just a regular woman who's out here doing this. And then I found this out and I was like, oh, okay, well, this makes more sense into the overall person that she was. And like I said, y'all, this is real. This ain't, this is not fiction or anything like that. Mariam had a history of fighting crime. In 1989, she had tracked down thieves who had ransacked her husband's safe and recovered all of the missing items. On one occasion, Mariam had personally intervened to ensure the safety of her other daughter's husband when he was threatened by gangs, paying a small ransom to make the problems go away. With the help of Louise, Mariam spent 2 years hunting down Karen's kidnappers, setting traps for them and relying on law enforcement agencies only when she was sure that they would be arrested. Using a range of disguises and fake IDs, she helped to apprehend all 11 of the abductors and, faced with apathetic, corrupt, or incompetent authorities, formed Colectivo Desaparecidos de San Fernando's, the Vanished Collective, a support group for 600 other families looking to find their missing relatives. And like I said, the number in this article was 70,000, and I looked at another one more recent, and it was 73,000. I mean, it's a lot of missing persons, and it's one of those things like, well, how are you going to find them? And knowing the cartel and the different things that you would see, whether it's in movies or in real life, some people are, they're like disposing your body in acid and stuff like that, so how would you then go and find the remains, and where would you go and look, and are you trying to go in certain territories that are heavily, they have a heavy gang presence, you know what I mean? Would you as a cop really want to be going over there? I don't know. In 2015, after a tip-off from an 18-year-old local, Mariam finally learned that Karen was dead. Wow. Her remains buried on a remote, abandoned ranch. There on the property was a house riddled with bullet holes and a noose hanging from a tree. Mariam found Karen's scarf and a bone later identified as part of her femur. Wow. And y'all know the femur is one of the hardest bones. By the time she nabbed the florist in 2016, every one of Karen's abductors had been brought to justice. Whew. 4 were in prison awaiting trial, while another 6 were dead, killed in a raid by Mexican Marines. But the mother's relentless digging ultimately infuriated the Zeta Cartel. And this is where another tragedy lies. On the night of May 10th, 2017, Mariam left work at her store and drove home. She was on crutches. She'd broken her foot chasing a former prostitute in connection to the Zetas, so she struggled to get out of the car. As she stepped onto the street, 2 men emerged from a white Nissan truck parked nearby, carrying 9mm pistols. They fired 13 rounds at Mariam, hitting her 8 times. Wow. Her son, Luis Hector, heard the shots from inside their home and came outside screaming his mother's name. He found her lying face down on the ground, just 6 feet from her car. Her hand was inside her purse where she kept her pistol. She just unfortunately didn't have enough time. Reaction time. It happened so spontaneously. Mariam was taken to the hospital where she died hours later. It was Mother's Day 2016. Now I have another article. It has just a little bit more information. And it says Mariam Rodriguez dedicated her life to finding her daughter's killers and then was murdered herself. In all, Mariam Rodriguez would hunt down 10 cartel members who'd play a role in her daughter's kidnapping. The other one said 11. Many had left the cartel and attempted to start over as quote unquote born again Christians or flower vendors, but Rodriguez had little sympathy for them. So you go and murder people. You kidnapped her daughter. 1, kidnapping's already bad. You kidnapped her daughter. You possibly sexually assaulted her 2. And then you're going to go and murder her after you get the money that you demanded. You could have just had her in the corner, get your money, and then release her. But you didn't do that. You kidnapped her. You possibly assaulted her in other ways, if you know what I mean. And then we already know you hit her and you shot her. We already know, okay, that you did all this other stuff, or allegedly shot her. We already know that all this other stuff happened. You murdered this girl. And then now you're like, well, I'm out of the Zeta Cartel. I'm out of the cartel. I'm a born again Christian. I went to the priest and he said it was okay killing 20 people, so I'm good, right? It kind of reminded me of, it was a scene in Ozark, and it was the cartel leader that was up in there. And he went up in there, and then he was essentially like, yeah, I killed 2 people yesterday. I feel bad about that. Am I good to go? And the priest was like, well, yeah, you are. It's like, what? Wow. Born again Christian, and you're a flower vendor, and now you're just supposed to be okay with that? I don't care if they kill me, Rodriguez told a friend. I died the day they killed my daughter. I want to end this. I'm going to take out the people who hurt my daughter, and they could do whatever they want to me. And also a huge part of this was how the police officers They were waiting for her to do the work. Like, they wanted her to do all the work and then be like, okay, yeah, we'll help you after. And I'm like, wait, what? So, well, I'm confused. If you're a cop, why am I having to do all this work? Why am I having to lock people, hold people down as a citizen's arrest? And I was reading, it was in another article, I think it was the second one that I showed. But essentially, she would go and have documents upon documents and be like, here's evidence. And the cops, oh, wow. Wow. Oh, girl, you did a lot of work. I'm thinking, girl, y'all, she didn't get paid for this. How come why were y'all not trying to stop this? And it's not like, oh, this is just one isolated event, just one person kidnapped. If y'all got 73, well, at this time, if y'all got 70,000 people kidnapped, missing, don't you think it's a big problem? Like, okay, maybe I need to be doing a little bit more work. But you're gonna have this woman do all the work. You haven't her do your job. Y'all, let me know what y'all think about this. I thought this was a pretty interesting story because when I first heard about it, which was a few months ago, almost a year ago now, probably, I was like, wow, I can't believe this is real. Like, this is actually real, and it definitely reminded me of Taken with Liam Neeson in it. But I mean, pretty much just like it, that kind of mixed with like a John Wick kind of thing. I was like, wow. But let me know what you all think about this story down below.